Hey, what's up, Chad Hermansen, mental edge training coach. Welcome back to the show. Today, I have a very exciting guest, the guy that's been around the game of baseball for a very long time, Carl Iwasaki. Carl and I met when I was 18 years old. I had just finished my first full year playing in Augusta and playing in Lynchburg with the Pirates organization. So that was the A ball, the low A and the high A. Carl was the general manager of the Honolulu Sharks in the Hawaiian Winter League. So Carl was the GM, Jeff Bannister, the major league manager. He's currently with the Diamondbacks. He was our manager at that time. So got to meet Carl, just a fantastic guy. Carl then went on to play. He was a former player, played at UNC, Northern Colorado, a couple other places, and then became the head coach. He was at Saddleback. He was at an Austin College in Texas, a Division III, and then eventually went on to the University of Northern Colorado up in Greeley. So he was in the WAC for the last few years. Carl brought me on to help coach the mental game to some of his players, really his team in 2021, right after COVID. So he gave me my first experience at the college level. So forever grateful for him for that. Got to help a lot of different players experience the mental game, with the college type player. So that was really cool of him. So Carl is now in the Pioneer League with the Grand Junction Jackalopes. So it's a new Pioneer League. They're kind of affiliated with Major League Baseball. My understanding is there are 4 different leagues around the country, and the Pioneer League is one of them. So back when the MLB decided to go from the 40 rounds that it was for quite a few years, then it went to 20 rounds. So of course there was a lot of players that didn't have that opportunity to go play because the major league organizations got rid of those short season A-ball teams. So all those teams like Grand Junction, Ogden, I think the Orem Owls in Salt Lake, they now are a part of this Pioneer League. So it's pretty exciting for Carl. He's working with a good friend of mine, Chris Nobbenshoe, who's the manager. And Chris invited Carl, is like, hey, I need you to be my assistant coach. Carl jumped on that when he's basically semi-retired out in Wyoming in his cabin. So we're going to learn a lot from Carl. He's a big fan of the mental game. So enjoy this conversation with Carl Iwasaki. And of course, as always, if you or your athlete needs some help in the mental game, visit chadhermansencoaching.com. Would love to hear your story. Love to hear what you or your athlete are going through. And we can set up a call to just have that conversation and see if I can help you in your mental game. So again, enjoy this conversation with Carl Iwasaki. All right, Mr. Carl Iwasaki. How's it going, man?
Hey, Chad, really well, man. Appreciate you having me on. It's been a long history between you and I, but this is great.
Man,
Appreciate having me on.
it's been a long history. So I met you. It was 1996. I believe I just finished my first year with the Pirates in A ball. Was exhausted, extremely tired, and I got invited to go play at the Hawaiian Winter League. And I was
Okay.
like, really? Hawaii? And how long? Like 2.5, 3 months? I was like, I'm in. And was invited to play for the Honolulu Sharks. And I'll let you take it from there. Like, how did we meet?
Yeah, so I was a general manager at about 29, 30 years old for the Honolulu Sharks. And Jeff Bannister, your first manager in pro baseball, was my field manager. And I just remember him coming into my office and that text, and he goes, "Hey, Carl, so we got a kid coming in from Henderson, Nevada, first round draft pick. His name's Chad Hermansen, and he had you that summer, right?" And that was really cool. And I've never seen a first round, high school player. Hey, if you remember our team that year, you had over to the right was a guy named Aaron Boone, over there, and we had some players in the league, Council, man, and Gabe Kapler and Todd Helton. So there were some special guys that haven't really made their name known nationally. So I had a kid named Chad Hermansen come in, 18 years old, and what are you, about 6'2", 6'3", and about 185 pounds, and
Yeah.
playing shortstop. And I just wanted to see what that looked like. the first swing you took at Les Murakami Stadium, I remember that to this day. That sounded special. That came off your bat, and you might have hit one off of the luau, restaurant area over. And I said, okay, that's what it looks like. So now, and the Hawaii Winter League, what was it, 95?
So
The
it
winter
was 96. I think
96.
did you start in 95? Is that when you started?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think
94.
so I must have been your second year when you maybe
Yeah.
even third year possibly.
That was fun. And no, and it was great for you because you came into the league, 6 months into professional baseball, and coming straight from high school to the South Atlantic League, and then to us in the Winter League. And
Yeah. Yeah, I was in
Banny,
Sally League the first half, and then went to Lynchburg, and that's when played for Banny in Lynchburg, and then straight to Hawaii.
small world, and to this day, as going into the career of college coaching, junior college, Division III to Division I. I finished up last season up in Northern Colorado.
Mhm.
Wherever I recruited, I was always looking for shortstops. The shortstop I was looking for was a profile of Chad Hermansen. I was looking for you.
Okay.
Everywhere I went to recruit, I said, I know what it looks like.
Okay.
And I was never able to find another Chad Hermansen, but pretty close. But no, that was awesome in Small World, right, with Banny.
Yeah.
The story. I mean, I recruited Jacob after the COVID year, and he came up to play, and he's with us at Northern Colorado still. And old Jeff and Karen move up to Colorado, and I had Jeff on, in between, the Pirates, Texas Rangers, and now he's with Diamondbacks and on the bench with the Diamondbacks. He was, go figure, he was on the field with me. So I just need you to be on the field with me, and we'll make this full circle.
Yeah, I know. So the team that we played on, it was the Honolulu Sharks, and now like I'm actually seeing color flashbacks because you got your purple there, and we were purple, black, and white, right?
Right,
The
we are.
Sharks, and so our main field was University of Hawaii's field in Honolulu. I stayed with Banny and a couple other players there, and we got to how long was the Hawaiian League around? Like 5-6 years roughly?
Yeah, we started in '93, and obviously that was when MLB partnered with us, and we started that up. We had the four teams on the four islands. Ichiro Suzuki was in Hilo. Go remember that. It was crazy. Giambis were in Kauai. You were with me, and Kapler and those guys were over in the West Oahu. So we had four teams. We ran through '97. I want to say '97, and I left. My wife and I actually transferred to Central California. So it went for another couple years. So, and then there was a pause, and then they brought it back for another couple years in the early 2000s. But no, that was a blast. I mean, that was probably one of the greatest baseball jobs I've had.
Oh, I bet.
Having you guys come and play for us, and seeing all of your names make it to the big leagues, that was really cool. That was really cool.
It was. I kind of now that I look back at it, it was almost like you have the Arizona, the fall league, right? That's kind of the big one for the prospects. So it's kind of like before you become, it's like if you're a younger prospect, that's where the Hawaiian Winter League, that's how it kind of lined up. And then if you played well there, you continue to play well in the regular season, then you get to eventually stay, I guess, in homeland, if you will, and go to that Arizona Fall League. So it was like that first stepping stone. So that you got to see, you mentioned some names there that, yeah, those guys still ended up in that Fall League, maybe really the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it profiled really well for like yourself, because where would you go? Where would they have sent a first round 18-year-old to? Maybe overseas for the Winter League, probably. Remember in those time
Sure.
it was probably not necessarily a good place to just say Winter League. And then the Arizona Fall League came up. I have a quick story on that one. So I get a phone call, and it's an agent, and he says, I'm representing Mr. Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And you remember that time, he's going to make the transition to baseball. And I just thought Chris Nobbins was playing a joke on me and calling me and saying, hey, we want you to take Michael Jordan. But it was true. It was his agent. And we almost had him. You almost had a chance to play with Mr. Jordan that season. But they decided, yes, the Arizona Fall League was going to be where he would start versus ours. But we profiled for the single and double A, and it
Right.
worked well. It was, and crowds were great, and the tourists and as well as the people supported you guys, and they probably do to this day. I remember all the names. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I just went back there for the first time with my family just a few months ago, and stayed around there for the first night, and then went and kind of hung out around Turtle Bear area there for a little while. And it was during spring break, and I'm like, man, this place is just incredible, right? It's the weather, the beaches, and all that stuff. And so you spent a lot of time there in Hawaii, and then you said you transitioned. Now, you were a former player. You played at the University of Northern Colorado. Tell us about your playing career and what led you to get into coaching.
Well, I'll go back all the way to high school. I mean, youth baseball. I mean, again, I had a great experience. Chad. I mean, we'll probably get to the point where we talk about the mental side of the game. But I had a great experience. I just loved playing the game. And in 1974 Little League, I'm 12 years old. We win the Hawaii State Championship. We play in San Bernardino in the Western Regional, and we lost Arizona to go to Williamsport. And I remember telling my father, who was my coach, I just said, man, I'd like to play this game as long as I possibly can. I just love baseball. So that's where I fell in love. So in Hawaii, it's great. All the guys that you played with as well, too. And currently, the Kurt Suzuki's and the Shane Victorinos. And in my time with Sid Fernandez. And you played with Joe Hunter, the big Brewers slugger from Hawaii. But no, it was a great experience. And I went to Punahou High School and played for Coach Pal Eldridge, if you remember him, former BYU Cougar. He was just my inspiration into possibly being like him and being a coach. So the seed was planted then with Coach Eldridge, because he was way ahead of his time, man. I mean, I would say he kind of was the ground floor of the players coach,
right?
And if you think about it, back in the 80s, there was no such thing as player coaches. Okay, there was tough love without the love. They didn't know any better. There's no ABCA, coaching credibility,
right?
And a lot of baseball coaches were also football type coaches. So I mean, it's heavy handed, and it was tough, man. But Coach Eldridge was different, and he embraced us, man, and he taught us the game. I was a catcher, he was a catcher. You remember Boy Eldridge, Dave Eldridge was a catcher. So we had a really good core coming out of the islands. But my experience was really cool. And he was the one who influenced me to go to Colorado. He wanted me to go to the Y and go back to his alma mater and play at BYU for Coach Pullins. And I was thankful that he thought I was good enough to go play there. And if you remember, there's a lot of Hawaiians that played. Pete Kendrick and the Matsubara and all those cats played with Wally Joyner and Corey Schneider that whole time. And I said, Coach, I played behind your nephew Dave for 3 years, and I'd like to possibly look at another school. So Northern Colorado University, man, he knew Coach Petrov. And so he made the call and contact, and there was no video at that time, and there's no way Coach, at that time, they're not recruiting out of state. They're not traveling. We're not traveling. There's no travel ball. He took his recommendation to go to a school that not only had 10 College World Series appearances, but there were 20 regional appearances and 10 super regional appearances in their rich history. And here I am, a knucklehead kid from the North Shore of Hawaii, going to play at this university. So Coach Petrov was awesome. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But going from Coach Eldridge playing in Hawaii, was a great experience. Probably like yourself, Chad. There wasn't a whole lot of there was a lot of success and playing the game and in the high school level, you in Henderson, right, and me at Ponahoe. I mean, it was a great experience. I was that guy that a lot of players voted for team captain. I mean, I was probably a team captain my whole 3-4 years and at the varsity level. And so again, I kind of had that feel like maybe I can go somewhere in the game. And then had a chance to go to the University of Northern Colorado, and the rest is kind of history. But there's some stories about where to go from there, right?
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah. So you've been up in Greeley for quite a while, at the D1 level, and you even started your career before that. I saw Saddleback, I saw Austin, and tell us about that transition from those levels, and
Yeah.
what did it take as a coach to get to those next levels?
Well, again, man, it's there's no school to learn about a coaching degree or finding your way. There's no resume, as you know, and to this day too. And
Yeah.
what we do, it's relationships, and it's finding a place that you can actually contribute your knowledge to. And I'm just so grateful that I have those type of people, and not only Pell Eldridge getting me to my collegiate career start, but my professional career after the Winter League. Shelly, my wife, and I, she's a corporate executive at the time for Frito-Lay. That's why we moved to Central California, Bakersfield. Dave Nakama, he's now with the University of Hawaii as the associate head coach, knew Jack Hodges at Saddleback. So he was at Stanford at the time, and he made the call, and Jack Hodges was the head coach at Saddleback in Mission Viejo. And he just said, hey, go see if he needs some help. And he made the contact for me. So I jumped in, and man, I jumped in at Saddleback College in Mission Viejo. We lived down there. And I got started. There's some great athletes down there. I mean, if you remember Rob Johnson, he was a draft and follow for the Mariners.
Yeah.
With Jojima, and just great story. I got a quick story, and just kind of segues to a little bit of mental toughness.
Yeah.
Is it, are you born with it or are you trained? So we get this kid, I'm at Saddleback.
Okay.
And here comes this cowboy, drives up in a beat up pickup truck with a cowboy boots and a belt buckle and probably a cowboy hat, all embellished. And he walks into our office. I'm with Coach Hodges at Saddleback. He goes, hey, Coach, my name's Rob Johnson. I'm from Butte, Montana. I'm here to try out for the team. And if I can't make it here, I can't make it anywhere. And we're pretty good. The Orange Empire Conference, I mean, it was loaded with, there's guys that played with you. And he said, my father works in a coal mine in Butte, and his health is not well, and I'd like to have a chance to play in the major leagues to help finance his health care. Okay. It's 2003. And I'll always remember that. This kid is mentally tough, man. And not only did he get drafted and followed by the Dodgers. I mean, he went to Houston for 1 year, and then Seattle picked up his rights on that. But I always say, the mental toughness and the elite mindset is trained. It's trained, and you're not born with it. I don't think Rob was born with that, man. His parents were elite people, and they kind of gave him that. But yeah, from Saddleback, again, corporate life, we moved to Plano, Texas. We get to Plano, Texas, and I was contacted by a Division III school there who had heard that I was in town.
Yeah.
And I got one thing led to another, and I got hired to be the head coach of a Division III team. I had no idea what Division III was. I worked with you in MLB and junior college, California, and played at Division I. And so here I am at Division III coach. I loved it because it's the players who are there for the right reason, get their education, they're non-scholarship and they are playing for the love of the game, and they're good players. So I was in Texas. So Texas, you get football players and baseball players. So I recruited both those guys, and that was time. Spent 7 years there, and we'll go back to a quick story on that one. But from there, I got the call from my alma mater in 2010. So from there, I might have been the only Division III coach in America that got a call from a Division I school to ask if I'd be interested in coming back.
Yeah, because people would consider that a big jump in a way, right? Because you have the D3 to D2 to D1, but they saw something in you that you were doing something well there.
I'll give you the what we did well. So in 2002, this school is called Austin College, the great Division III school in North Texas. So they went Division III. They played 40 games, Chad. They went 2-38 in two.
Okay.
So they played 40 games. So when I was interviewed, the AD in 2003 summer, he said, "We're not very good." I said, "Well, okay. I just came out of Southern California, and we were 40 something and not very much." And we were second in the state of California in Fresno. And I said, "Tell me about the team." He said, "Well, we won one game in the middle of the season, and the second win was the last game of the season against the championship team that went on to a regional. And they were down one late, and the story was, I guess, a hit by pitch and a walk and loaded the bases, and some cat hit a grand slam home run for a walk-off."
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And when I sat there, I paused for a second, Chad, and I go, "I like to meet these guys."
Yeah.
And for me, man, I love building things. I love challenges. I've always chose the tough opportunities, because who else would want to, knucklehead guys like me do? I thought I can only make this thing better, maybe.
Right.
So, 2004, I did take over that program, and in 2007, we made the conference tournament, first time in league in the history of the baseball program. Okay, so we won 20 games, and recruited good kids. And I'll give you this one, because this ties into your lane here. We had a mental specialist come in, and she was, I think her last name was Peterson, Dr. Peterson, in 2004, the first time I've ever heard that there was actually mental specialists.
Okay.
Sports psych. And she worked with LPGA golfers and PGA golfers in the Dallas, Houston area, and NASCAR races. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, 2004 now. This is when Ken Revisa and all those guys were just kind of writing their books to start off. And she talked about it. She talked about visualization. She talked about everything happens twice. She talked about a lot of tools, breathing techniques, and I wrote these things down. I had no idea what it was about. We'll talk about it later. I wish I had that when I was in college. You know what I mean? Because no one knew how to do it. So we're at this first tournament in school history, and I get the guys up, practice on Wednesday before the tournament starts on Thursday. I asked the team, Texas boys, how many of you ever won a state championship or ever dogpiled on a field? And not one guy raised their hand. Because Texas, it's hard to do,
Sure. Yeah.
And I said, why don't we? And they just dogpiled. They just, we did it.
See what it feels like.
Yeah. Okay. This is 2004. I didn't know what I was doing, Chad. I didn't. I said, okay, I heard about this. Everything happens twice. We did it. These guys were going, I let them go, man. It was like it was cool. I'll never forget it, man. It's a true story, though. These guys, and I go, all right, boys, let's get on the bus. So we played that tournament. We get lucky. We get hot. We were rolling. We get to the final game against a team from Mississippi, and we're up late. They got the bases loaded, and they hit a lash in the left center. I had nobody to pitch. I was going to call in my trainer, female trainer, to go, hey, warm up in the bullpen, because we're selling out here. We got to win this game. And center fielder lays out. makes a diving catch. And you know what they did? At about 4 o'clock on that Sunday afternoon, they dogpiled.
There you go.
So, bro, I'm it's a true story. And so I always say that everything happens twice. First in
Mhm.
your mind, visualize. And so I ran off what I wrote down in my notes on that. So that was Division 3, and that was the story I told in the interview with Northern Colorado, my alma mater, when I got back there.
Mhm.
And it was a panel of about 8 people, and they kind of were silent.
They're
And
like,
I go,
wow, this is interesting, right?
yeah.
Were you
And
at that point when they were silent, were you like, oh, like, because your mind could probably go like, oh, they're processing that and like, oh, I like that.
yeah,
Or they're like, maybe this guy's a little crazy. Is that
I
come
think
to mind at all?
no, I think I got the job.
Yeah.
No, and it's a true story. So I've
Yeah.
rolled that up once or twice on a on a interview or podcast, and they're going, "Man, we're going to try that." Some of the coaches, but no, it's part of so like again, it's part of that process of success and visualizing, and so I've had a great experience. Back at the alma mater for 12 seasons, plus COVID, and I just retired last May, but I had a blast, man. And I've every year I've incorporated the elite mindset training,
Mhm.
mental game. You and I brought you in right in 2021 post COVID, and I thought my club really needed. And you trained with Brian Kane too, right? So I had Brian also for two. He came in for two seasons, spring seasons. But you were the best because I'm being honest with you, bro, because you have the credibility of being a former player. And so the tools that you brought to my team, the 2021-22 team, that really helped. It was awesome, all the go-tos and the tools to use when the stuff hits the fan. So, but I appreciate that, and I had a blast, and I think that's kind of my walk and my strength as a head coach. Was bringing that, the
Mhm.
the the mindset, the life skills and that type of thing to these kids. So for the next 40 years after the ninth inning, they'll be a success in anything they want to do.
Yeah. Well, number one, I again thank you for bringing me on. You gave me my first opportunity experience to work with the college team, and
Yeah.
I was going through that process with doing some other things too. And you're like, hey, I want you to come on and
Yeah.
I'm watching you online doing your thing. Let's have you coach my players, which was exciting, right? To kind of get I mainly have been working with athletes, kind of my it's like 10 to college, it was 10 to high school, and now you open that college door for me, which was great because you're now dealing with players that have actually had experiences.
Mhm.
They've gone through a lot of success, likely as high school players. Now they're in college. They're working through some of their first failures, for the most part.
Mhm.
And just kind of give the audience an idea. So what you came up with too, um, because yeah, I did some training under Brian Kane and did his MPM program, and you guys already kind of had that system in place with the MPM stuff and what they do. And what we ended up doing is you had everybody read Get Heads Up Baseball, the Ken Ravizza book, and you had a group of, I don't know, 5 to 8 guys, and you assign them a chapter. I think we
Yeah.
went for like what, maybe 4 or 5 weeks roughly.
Mhm.
So you had this group that would take, say, chapter one, and then they would present the information to the whole team. This was over Zoom. And you and I are on the call. We're just kind of listening, and then you'd be like, Chad, do you have anything? And it was fantastic because it gave them the ability to, number one, they're college students. So how much actual reading are they doing on
Yeah.
top of what their schoolwork is, right? Um, and you probably find the same way. Like when you deal with teams, at least in my experience, and then working with other younger teams, there's a buy-in of I don't know what the percentage is, but it's almost like in life where you have a buy-in of sometimes it's a smaller percentage of a team, right?
Yep.
You have, say, 25 guys, maybe half buy in, and maybe then 10 to 20% are like really serious about it.
Yep.
Um, So what we did is we did that for the 4 or 5 weeks, and then I offered to you guys, well, because I'm more of a one-on-one guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of a personal, let's talk about your individual thing, right? Instead of just throwing this, I don't want to call it a cookie cutter blanket over everything, but it kind of is in a way, because sometimes these tools don't necessarily hit right for some guys. So it's more like, well, I want to get into what is relevant for you, right? Do these things apply for you, and what's actually going on with you, and then talk about and work through that stuff individually. So um what's my first experience with that. I definitely I build great relationships with probably 5 to 8 guys if I
You
didn't.
did you did a really good job. The feedback I got, sometimes during the season and at the end of the season, and you really did a great job helping our guys, and they really appreciate it. They say, hey, part of this season, and we had some successes that year, to have Chad on with us, and you were a co-pilot. In college baseball, and now I'm in professional baseball now, and in college we're the pilots. I mean, the head coaches are skippers, man. We're guiding the ship, right?
Yep. Yep.
In the setting that you had with our guys and what I'm in now, I'm the co-pilot.
Hmm.
I am no longer, it's their career. You think about you had Kai on a little bit ago, and I stole it from him, but it's true.
Yeah.
We're there to be a support staff and be the co-pilot of their careers. And so you were that for my guys, and I appreciate that. And it's really effective. And what you're doing now for high school, and I know you got a couple college clients, um, man, bro, that's the way to go. One on one. Every kid's different. I've learned through my 30 years of doing this, man. It's individual differences. Every
Mhm.
kid comes at it differently. Not every kid is gonna embrace the ideas of mental game. And I know you've had some really good professionals on here, but I will say I'm kind of the guy who's experienced from the ground level up. And just this morning at our workout, spring training workout, a kid came up to me and said, hey, Iwa. He goes, so I'm really interested in the mental side of the game, but right now I'm doing more meditation. I
Yeah.
said, well, that's all right. Talk to me about it.
Hmm.
He said, well, and he's a good player. He's a 2 year, third year pro now. He says, well, I meditate and I clear my mind, and I just like go to a whiteboard. And 3 things he does. He goes, I go to the whiteboard and I just clear my mind. And the first thing I do, man, is I bring up um, uh, my happy place, or where I love to be if I could be one place for the rest of my life. And then the second thing he says, I'll bring up a snapshot or a highlight reel of something I did really special. The cool thing, man,
Yeah.
making it, you've hit some bombs at some great stadiums. And the third thing he does is, what am I going to do today? I
Mhm.
go, dude, that is it.
Yeah.
He just taught me something today, and I think I've done this for a long time. He just taught me something today.
That's
And goes,
great. Yeah.
what am I going to do today? And he makes it a commitment. So that's the 3 things he brought. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Chad. I mean, the process is different from everybody, and
Mhm.
you do it differently for every kid too. And I'm going to try and do it here for the Pioneer League team that I'm the bench coach for. And, I'm going to bring them, good information as much as I can, stuff that you've taught me, and stuff that I've taken from experience from my college career.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that. So you got this purple background behind you with this this new logo we're seeing. Tell us about this new Pioneer League that's happening.
Yeah. Well, it is the second year of the MLB Partner League. There's 4 MLB Partner Leagues in America, and we're one of them, Pioneer League. And what it is obviously with the rookie and the single A short season going away after
Mhm.
COVID, we're it. So we're currently being assisted by Major League Baseball, and we have synergy equipment here that was purchased from MLB. We have 10 teams in the Pioneer League. So we have 6 cameras, video. Every pitch, every at bat
Mhm.
will be seen by every front office. 30 to 30 front offices will see us, and we have TrackMan. They sent us TrackMan equipment. We have it up today. Um, that's a big investment. And I know you're a pro scout, and so is Nobby. I don't know. Maybe this is part of the information process of today. They're
Absolutely. Yeah.
bro, they're seeing our swing speed and pitch rotation in the front office on so that's where I'm at. Again, this is the inaugural season for this team. We were the former Rockies affiliate here in Grand Junction, Colorado. It's beautiful. I've been here for 6 days, and I don't think I'll ever leave. Awesome. We're headed tomorrow to Ogden, Utah to play the Ogden Raptors to open the season. We go to Idaho Falls from there. We play Boise, Colorado Springs, the old Rockies AAA affiliate. We're playing the Vibes down there. And there's a new team in Windsor, the Windsor Owls. They were the former Orem Owls.
Sure. Okay.
Corey Schneider was the manager for them last year. So
Okay.
it's really neat. It's dynamic. The kids, I told you earlier, the kids are between 22 to about 25. So it's really an adjacency from where I've been, from the college level, the 18 to 22-year-olds. Now I'm going from, 22 to 25, which I love it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, even the veteran guy like me, I think I have a lot to give these guys still, and they're listening to me. So I think I'm in a sweet spot right now.
That's
I'm
key.
not the manager. Chris Dobbins the manager, so I can give him advice as well too. And he asks me because this is the first managing position too, and at the same time, I get to be in my sweet spot and helping out wherever I can. And I'm going to do the mental game here too, because I think the process, it's the same. It is the same from your lower level youth players, right, all the way to these guys. And you think about it, man. I mean, I heard the podcast from Kurt Suzuki a couple of years ago, and Zook just says, I couldn't do without it. He played 18 years in the big leagues, whatever. He said, I couldn't do without it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Pioneer League. So for those listening, when the draft kind of went to, all these rounds, now then it went to what, I think 40 rounds, and then I think it's down to 20. And I don't, that
20.
was like the last year before I got let go on that part. But so I haven't really stayed up to date on all that. But I do know that all those teams, those short season A-ball teams just went away, right? So organizations are like, we're just going to have rookie ball and then go straight to A-ball. And so what it sounds like, so Grand Junction, you mentioned Ogden, some of these teams that used to have those short season teams, those are now in a way in this Pioneer League, which I believe it's the same name, right? I think it was the Pioneer League before, just under a new umbrella in a way. So you mentioned Chris Nobbenshoe is the manager there. Chris, when I was scouting, he was the Braves scout, lived in Colorado. Actually, when I was in the Pirates organization when I first started, he was like up in the AAA area. He's really old. What's Nob, like 55? Like
He and no, he's younger than me. He was a freshman when I was a senior, so he says to everybody that he carried my bags.
Yeah, but he looks way older than you though. Like you look like you're 50.
No, he's in his late 50s, and he's enjoying it. This is great, man. Going from professional scouting, kind of having a little gap in that, and now going back into organized professional baseball. This is cool. It's a great opportunity. He's a lifelong learner like myself, and he's my fishing buddy. He comes up to my property in Wyoming. We sit and we kind of talk about, what is next.
Yeah.
But when he got this position, I was doing it at a training academy. That I was up in Tetons, up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and you helped me kind of brainstorm about getting that. I had my academy going. He calls me and goes, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to be at Grand Junction. You can't say no."
I got a job for you, right? And you're kind of in like retirement mode. Like you retired from UNC, left there. You got a cabin in Wyoming, and you're like, I'm kind of good, but you just can't get away, can you?
I can, but when guy 40 years ago that, yeah, you play with a teammate,
Yep.
and who he is, and he just said, I just said, I can't say no to you, bro. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity and my job is to make him successful. So,
Yeah.
now, awesome. 25 years as being the skipper, and now I get to be an assistant coach. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Well,
I don't have to.
you get to write the lineup, right? It's
Oh,
yeah, whole different experience. You get to just do your coaching duties, coach some guys, and now how long is the season? Is it through the whole summer?
yeah, we'll go to September, so it's 96 games,
Oh
right?
wow. Okay.
Go. We're not. We're going to every day. It's going to be awesome. And the one thing too, I played and coached for the last however many years in Colorado, cold weather climate. I always told myself someday I'm going to coach in the summer because I was just tired. Remember in your winter days of trying to get going in early spring seasons. I mean, it's cold. It's
Yeah.
cold playing in Colorado. Shoot, we were everywhere from Utah to going out to South Dakota, Omaha, Nebraska. And so now I get a chance to coach in the summer. By the way, it's going to be 100 degrees here in Grand Junction in the summer.
It
So,
gets toasty. Yeah. Yeah. It don't
yeah,
mess around up there.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, no. And again, it's a great opportunity. Great kids here. We have a 25-man roster. The Pioneer League is for purpose, and we had 70 players in the 10-team Pioneer League last year signed to affiliated MLB.
Mm,
70 in the first year.
okay.
Going into the second year, who knows? I think the way that they're going to be watching us with the synergy and the track man, all the metrics. I'd say let's go for 100 this year coming out
Yeah.
of us. So we're going to some recruiting in the middle of the season to replace guys that get drafted.
Yeah. So explain to us, what is the typical player? Are these players that have gone to college? They're graduated from college, they didn't get drafted, or are they were in an organization, got released? Are these the kind of players you're working with here?
Yeah, that's a good question, and a lot of them, and I'm just getting to know them. I mean, I've been here for 8 days with them, but you know, the profile on a lot of these kids, a lot of them are yes, out of either junior college or subdivision, Division 2. A lot of them are Division 2.
Okay.
Any a few JUCO guys in a handful of Division 1 guys. I mean, we've got a Fresno State and we've got a San Diego State player here, and uh, kids that have players who have played at least 1 or 2 years and been tossing around affiliated baseball. We've got a San Francisco Giant 2-year player here,
Yeah.
pitcher. And again, because Chad, the 20 to 40 draft number has gone away.
Mhm.
You think about it, man. I mean, you're number one, first round. Who 1 through 20 is a special player. I mean, these guys are pretty darn good. They would start on any of the Division 1 teams that I played in the last 15 years around the country.
Okay.
But it's just that 21st round to 40th round. That's who we're coaching.
Yeah.
And so here in the Pioneer League,
Yeah.
we
Which
had
is great because, like,
yeah,
there's that was kind of the anytime you would talk, at least when I would talk to families, and you kind of get them, like, the kid kind of fell in that area. Like, he's good enough to be drafted, but it's going to be more like 20 to 40. Like, there was no place for those guys anymore, right? Or there was something after the draft and a free agent type deal.
yeah.
So that's great. So, and you said there's, like, your Pioneer League's one league, so there's 3 other leagues on top of that around the
Yeah,
country.
yeah, the Frontier League. You said you spent once couple games or summer. Was that the
So that
Frontier League?
was American Association was that
That's
league.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So that's now the Frontier League.
And Frontier League is another partner,
Yeah.
MLB partner on the East Coast. So I think there's about 4.
Okay.
And think about that. I mean, still, for us, 25-man roster, 250 players. Okay.
Mm,
And that's just in the opening day roster, and there's going to be a lot of movement around. So I mean, gosh darn, there's I think about thousands of players who have not had the chance to either sign independent or not get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take all the high school top players who possibly would have been in the first 40th round that could have signed out of high school. Now they're going to college and junior college. So you think about what happened in 2020, man, I mean, there's still a backlog, and it's going to be for a while. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but and that's a whole nother subject matter. But yeah,
Sure.
I've been doing some consulting for helping kids that are kind of fell through the cracks to help them find a college, junior college to play at. So I've been doing some consulting with that too.
Gotcha. Okay. So with all your playing and your college coaching experience, and discussing around the mental game, you've obviously had players that have, say, come into your office that they're struggling with something, life in general, home life, family, girlfriend, baseball, right? All those things that kind of go together. Have you found like there's one specific player that comes to you and maybe they're dealing with this issue and this specific conversation or tool that you can give them, like, well, go try utilize this tool and see if that can help you a little bit? You found one that really is kind of hits there.
There's a lot of them, and every like I told you, everybody's different, and there's a couple of tools, and some kids you can kind of be a little rougher on, and some of them
Mhm.
you got really be like, hey, son, have a seat, man. Are you the best you possibly can be? Are you playing the best you possibly can be right now? No, coach. Well, then good. Find out how you can be, how good
Mhm.
you can be, and yeah, some of the tools. I mean, especially in game, um, some of the things you can just go up to them and just go, hey, I'm not here to say a word to you, man, but I want a 6-2-8 breath, right? The in six, hold two, out eight. It's the pitchers.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
try to get them to
you
slow
got
down a little bit
because they're
in a way.
sped up
Yeah.
and they're trying harder. So that's a tool. Breathing's big, and just maybe getting their mind kind of just like the player this morning, man. I go to a whiteboard, Skip, and edit.
Hmm.
In game, things are going fast, man. If you're in the red zone, we call it the green, yellow, and red zone. You're playing probably in the yellow to red zone most of your career, and at the higher level you go to. So I'll go up, and one thing I tell one of my players, and this was at San Jose State a couple of years ago, was bases loaded, no outs. We're down, or we're up one late game, and we're playing away, and I just go fish. Hey, bro, go fish.
Mm.
And what you say fish means is, and on a podcast, I'll clean it a little better, but FISH, forget it, stuff happens.
Hmm.
Okay. You
Hmm.
know, and he says it a little differently, but that kind of
You
gets him
change
back.
some words around, right?
And it gets him back to his feet going, F it,
Yeah.
stuff happens.
Right.
All right. And I say, make the next pitch.
Hmm.
And the umpire comes on and goes, hey, well, let's go. I go, hey, man, I'm not done here yet. Oh, make the next pitch. All right, Billy. Okay, his name was Billy. Guess what? Bases loaded, no outs, up one, makes the next pitch. These things happen, right? 1 to 2 to 3, L7, we're out of the inning. We win that game.
Hmm.
Plain. But he was swirling. I mean, the
Yeah.
kid was. So in game, there's those kind of things. But outside is the best time to do it. And especially in your setting, you get a kid in before the high school season starts, or maybe in the fall, and you can go through those exercises, the breathing. Routine is big for me. And even as, a veteran coach, I think just my own routine. I stay in my routine, man, and you know, um, kind of stay in a zone where you're focused where your feet are, and just like they always say, man, it's just wherever your feet are is where where you have to have an elite mindset. So that's a training you helped us with as well too, kind of keeping our guys present and focused. But going back to where this started for me, Chad, and we share a similar story. I just didn't play in the big leagues, but I played from Hawaii to University of Northern Colorado, and I told you I played for a Hall of Fame coach, Tom Petroff, and I love him. He just left us this past summer, 95 years old, and he called me every week of my whole career. But when I played for him, I feared him. And we feared, back in the day, we feared failure. I feared letting him down. I feared letting my family down. I feared letting my teammates down. And I was a catcher.
Yep.
And, you know, I played with a lot of anxiety. Okay. And that was in 1982 to 85, where there was nowhere to go. There's nothing out there. Coaches would, if you came to a coach, he'd say, "Hey, man, toughen up," right?
Yeah.
Hey, get tough, because there's nowhere to go. If you kind of were struggling a little bit with, getting anxious, you thinking too much at bat, they always say, "Hey, man, don't, just clear your mind. Don't think." That don't happen. You got to train for that. But yeah, and that's where that guy came. And I said to myself, someday if I ever became, and I didn't know I was going to be a coach, someday if I had an influence on other people or something, I would kind of do things a little differently. And I did. So when I became a head coach, I did things differently. And I let the players play to their best ability, and not try to influence that with, let me tell you what you're not. Back in the day, coaches would always tell you what you're doing wrong, what you are not, what your talent level at, that type, this, and the other. But I think the most credible coaches today, and you think around the horn, there's some really great college coaches, that I've met that, Skip Price over at KU Kansas, man, he's one of the greatest. He's my mentor. So I learned from him that, hey, man, you just keep pumping your players up and keep giving them, good feedback of what they're doing well. And if they're not, just kind of get them back to center, because what got you here is going to get you there, right? I mean, that's like most guys in their career, they don't get drafted unless they were a darn good player. They don't get to Division I, the highest level of amateur baseball, because they're just an average player. So my job was to remind them of that. And I told Coach Petroff what I did in my career. And I said, I did everything opposite of you, He said, "I'm glad you did."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he told me that like about 8 years ago. He goes, "I'm glad you did." Because he said, I kind of have some, I remember some things I shouldn't have done or said. But I love the man. And so going forward, I'm also coaching coaches. I'm trying to train some coaches. You just had one of my former coaches on a couple of weeks back. He's the infield coach for Gabe Kapler up in the big leagues.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
He's doing okay.
Little Kai Correa is who he's talking about. Yeah.
You and me get us a little job up.
Right.
No, I mean that, but you know what, Chad? That to me is a win. It's not a scoreboard.
Yeah,
but those are the wins, and that's what I try and leave with my players. Is after the ninth inning's over, what you've learned in this game, good and bad, adversity is learning. Use that for the next 40 years. Be the best husband, father, and community leader, and be a contributor and be an influence on people, man. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Carl, this has been fantastic. You've been doing this for a long time, right? And you're very well known, very well respected in the baseball community. And when you called me the other day saying that, after the idea of like, I'm retiring, I'm just kind of dabbling in baseball. He's like, Nob called me up and he wants me to help him coach. And I was like, of course he did. Right. You did. I know you're over 60 now, right?
Yeah. I'm one decade.
So you got 20 years left, right? So you just tell your wife, she knows she's going to expect it. Right.
Yeah, she's in Yellowstone today with our puppy, and she's going, "Hey, by the way, I'm having a good day. How about you?" Hey, no, Chad, I appreciate that, and I'll leave you with this, man. You personally, for me, is an example of why I do this, and why I do this is, I met you at 18 years old, and you're not 18 anymore. anymore, but I'm really proud. I'm really proud of who you were and what you've done and how you've overcame and what you're doing now to help the next generation of players from what you have learned. And I mean, you got a beautiful family. I follow you, man. We reconnected when you came to Colorado to as a professional scout, and this whole industry works full circle. It's awesome, and I'm just kind of enjoying keeping in touch with people like yourself and what you're doing, man. I wish you well. Anything I can do to help you, um, you know, with your clients, to help you market, I'll do that, man, because it works. So the mental performance skill training works at all levels.
Yeah, it's number one, thank you for that. And yeah, it just takes time, it takes some patience. And as in fact, I was having a conversation with a parent, with one of my 10-year-old clients. And I work with 10-year-olds too. And so, like you mentioned, I played with a lot of anxiety. And the reality is all these kids are, for the most part. And I look back, and that was kind of one of my main things too. So understanding what anxiety is, trying to work through it, and understanding it's okay. We're humans. We all experience this anxiety. Let's understand where it comes from, how our thoughts create our feelings. So anxiety is a feeling, right? So just learning that process too, and being okay. So as a parent of a 10-year-old, kind of talking to them like, hey, he's 10. Like, it's gonna take some time to like figure it out a little bit.
Yeah,
He's not gonna learn one tool and
yeah.
then be good in a week. However, he'll improve because now he knows where his feelings come from. And so it's an interesting process, right? Because 10-year-olds get it,
Mm-hmm.
18-year-olds get it, and then the college kids like, oh yeah. So it's that huge awareness comes up for them, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I am responsible to take the bull by the horns, if you will, and like this is my career, but just getting some more information and then how to apply it. So
I heard something, from your buddy and my buddy Bly,
yeah,
um, what he spoke to about parents. Um, Todd Blylev, and what he spoke to about parents are the biggest influences on our thoughts and our things and our mental state
yeah,
today, and they are. And being a college coach for as many years, man, I knew what parents have influence on some kids. I mean, I just texted one of my former 5-year players this morning who, obviously finished his career yesterday.
hmm,
I said, I'm proud of you, man. You did well. Now go on and be who you want to be for the rest of your life. And his parents are elite people.
yeah,
They're always awesome, supportive. And I always say that my wife and I talk about, why are these kids like this and the other kids like this? When you see who influences them. So we got to be cognizant today. Mental health is so important, and especially in the youth. I'm seeing it at the college level all the way down, man. Mental health for these kids, and so the influencers. I mean, yeah, teachers, yeah, okay, coaches, yeah, but it's parents, man.
yeah,
It
yeah.
really, it is mom and dad, and you and I know we're fortunate. We had great parenting, man, and they taught us who to be and how to be, and what's most important.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
there's no doubt. Yeah, they see him every day, right? They know everything they're going through, and at the end of the day, we're all trying our hardest. We're all doing our best with what we have to offer, and um, we're all in a process of learning, right? So that's the never ending process of that whole what life is all about. Like, well, I right now I'm 45. Like, I hope to know a lot more by the time I'm 55. And that continues on. So, well,
you're
Carl,
still in.
man,
You haven't peaked yet. You're you're
that-
45.
that's a great mindset to have, right there, right?
Hey, come on back. You can still play, man. No,
That's right.
thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, we were
Great.
just joking around that you just cut a player, and you're like, man, we got one more guy, and I was like, well, I'm 45. I'll come DH for you. You might need to give me a few weeks to get ready and then no,
Yeah.
but man, wish you guys the best of luck out in Grand Junction. If you it sounds like there's more opportunity, right, for that player that's didn't quite get a chance out of the draft. So that's just fantastic that's available. So nothing but the best for you, nothing but the best for Nob. I'll probably get Nob on here one day and have him share his story and all that stuff. But best of luck to you, Carl. You take care of yourself.
Appreciate you, Chad. Be
All right,
well,
man.
man.
Take care.